Old School Lane Casual Chats is brought to you by oldschoollane.blogspot.com and is associated with Channel Frederator, Manic Expression, the Comic Book Cast, and the Arun Mehta Show. Welcome to a brand new episode of Casual Chats. I am Patricia, and I'm here with a few special guests. Returning from the Naruto Shippuden podcast we had last time, we have Eli, aka the Cartoon Hero. Welcome back, Eli.
Good to be back.
And Cartoon Hero, what are you doing here?
Yeah, what are you doing here?
Anyway, so our other guests, we have our, we had this particular guest on the Yu Yu Hakusho podcast we had a while back. We have Zenith Will Rule, so welcome, Zenith.
Hi, how's it going? Happy Pride, everyone. I'm just, over here being gay.
Awesome. Happy Pride Month.
Mm-hmm.
All right, our next guest we have, coming back from the Pokemon movies and OVAs, we have Des Shinta. Welcome, Des Shinta.
Searching, destroying, both done at max speed.
And last but certainly not least, we have a guest who hasn't been in a podcast in 3 years. I think the last one was the Danny Phantom podcast we did. So we have Ryan. Welcome back, Ryan.
Long time no see.
Yes, long time no see. So, today we're going to be discussing about another anime because I'm in an anime kick. Please stop me. We're going to be discussing about the 2000 anime called Fooly Cooly, or for some of you guys who are wondering what the FLCL stands for, that's what it means. As of the time of this recording, we are doing this in honor of the second season of Fooly Cooly called Fooly Cooly Progressive, which will be airing tomorrow on Adult Swim. So, yeah, I thought that maybe we can look back on this anime that's like almost 20 years old, it's crazy to believe that, and discuss about its idiosyncratic, strange, and odd anomalies, because I haven't done a weird anime in a long time, not since Crayon Shin-chan, so this is going to be quite a ride. So, I need to know from you guys, how did you get introduced to this incredible, insane anime? So, Ryan, since you haven't been here in a while, why don't you start?
Oh my god. Someone else go.
Okay, go ahead. All right. Anybody, go.
I got it. Basically, I found out about this series because of my middle and high school anime club. One of my friends, Blake, recommended me this series while it was still in sub formats, which subs for anime, while prolific back in the day as fan subs, were still pretty hard to get back then. So, ironically, by the time I started watching it, I'd already fell in love with the soundtrack and found it by the time it just started airing, and it was one of the first series I watched subbed.
Oh, nice. All right. Let's see. Eli, how about you? How did you get introduced to this series?
My story is much simpler. I mean, before Adult Swim was a thing, I used to stay up really late on the weekends because being a cartoon reviewer, I was pretty curious about the cartoons that Cartoon Network showed late at night. A lot of them were pretty interesting, and it's kind of funny because this happened when I was a kid, but when Toonami started showing its shows later at night, then eventually they replaced the late night block that Cartoon Network previously had, and of course, because I was a kid and I was stupid and petty, I was like, "What the fuck is this Cowboy Bebop bullshit?" And I never saw it then. I regret that now because I've since seen that. When Adult Swim started airing their block of anime, I was the right age for it, and obviously with a name like Fooly Cooly, it's gonna catch your eye. So I saw that on the TV listings, wondered what it was, and I decided to check it out. And because there's only 6 episodes, it was a pretty easily digestible series. Well, as far as watching it is, it's understanding it is another thing entirely.
Yeah, I'll say.
I saw the series through Adult Swim, like I'm sure a lot of people did.
Zenith, how about you?
I got introduced to it pretty much like everyone else. I was watching it on Toonami. I only caught bits and pieces. Then again, this was a time where I couldn't watch every single week, and it wouldn't have made much sense if I had watched it week to week. But still, it was something to watch, and it intrigued me, and I kept watching. But unfortunately, when I was a kid, I couldn't watch every single week. So a lot of my favorite shows, I would not be able to catch everything, and I would kind of be lost, which is kind of why a lot of my favorite shows I stopped watching. But Fooly Cooly is one of those that you kind of don't need to see every episode. It's just really weird, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Are you ready now, Ryan?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I discovered it when I was 10 and I was getting into anime. And this is how I think what it is I think I saw commercials for it and it looked weird. Oh my God. Of course I watched it and it definitely made an impression.
Okay. As for me, this is another one of those anime programs that we just randomly watched in my anime club in college. As mentioned in the Azumanga Daioh podcast last year, there would be various anime that we would watch, we would watch maybe 1 or 2 anime episodes of a random anime every week. And, we would watch something like Naruto or Bleach, and then we would watch, the really weird ones, like Jungle wa Itsumo Hare no Chegu, Abinobashi Magical Shopping Arcade, Gun Sword, and this was one of them. Although the first time that I got introduced to it was once again through the AMV Hell series. Then we saw the first episode of Fooly Cooly, and I was looking at it, I was like, what am I watching? I mean, this was around the time in which, I was just learning more about diverse anime, and of course, shortly after that, I saw the other AMV Hells, like AMV Hell Zero. Kids who are under 18, please don't look it up. But yeah, basically, since then, I similar to Azumanga Daioh, I was like, okay, now I want to know what this show is about. However, unlike Azumanga Daioh, in which I fell in love with it right away, I was just confused. It's like, what is this show? It's weird, and it's just so surreal, but at the same time, it's interesting. I like the soundtrack, and it has this really interesting coming-of-age story, but told in such an unusual way. So, I guess with that introduction out of the way, I guess now we can finally discuss about what is this show about, at least what I can say that makes sense.
In its defense, there's a 2-volume manga adaptation. It kind of explains the story a bit better.
Okay, well that makes sense.
Yeah, part of the weirdness of it is the animation director Kazuya Tsurumaki said he wanted to break the rules of anime and chose to style it more after Japanese TV commercials or promotional videos, which, if you've seen a bunch of Japanese commercials, can get really damn weird.
Yeah. They are really weird.
Hell, they change art style every few minutes. There's a part where it's all just a manga that's being moved around. There's a part that it's South Park. The
South Park bit is probably the most infamous moment of the series.
Yeah, it just kind of goes like that. And then there's parts where this guy's eyebrows just keep coming off. Like
those eyebrows.
Those eyebrows.
Those eyebrows.
And then randomly it'll cut to the characters being like interviewed in a bus on occasion. It's just, yeah, it's there's a lot of weird meta humor like that.
Mm-hmm.
The entire 5th episode is in part a play on Lupin the Third, which I didn't know existed back then.
Yeah. There's an entire episode that has nothing to do with anything. It's them just having a water gun battle, but
That's the one. That's the
that
one.
turns into a war. Yeah, like there are just some really weird things in the show. But if you do pay attention, you can tell like that there's a lot of character dynamics in play, and I think the good thing about the show, more than anything else, more than the weirdness and the stylistic animation and the presentation, I think the characters are actually really deep and interesting. It's just the fact that we don't have enough episodes to really appreciate that, because if you really do pay attention to these characters, they all have their own forms of like mental disorders that they need to overcome. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Naota, who's the main protagonist, he's going through a lot of stuff. Like, he thinks that adults are really stupid. He's very quiet and subdued with himself. He's pretty much overshadowed by his older brother who lives in America, who plays baseball. His father and grandfather are, like, really weird. And
They're perverts.
He thinks he has it all figured out.
Yeah.
So he's a teenager, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sort of, because pretty much every adult he's ever met, he has refused to grow up and are completely unreliable. From his teacher to his parents to the police to the military guy. Pretty much the only normal, responsible person of the adults in this series is the blonde, dark-tanned Lieutenant Kitsurubami. I just pulled up the Wikipedia page.
Yeah, for the most part, if you take a look at all the other characters, they're just so unusual. I mean, also, Haruko, who comes into Naota's life, happens to be an alien. And yeah, this definitely kind of gives me like, Hale no Che Gu vibes, in which you have a regular kid who's living everyday lives, and then a person just comes right out of nowhere, and then she just so happens to live in the house, and then she's like really weird and does a whole bunch of weird things. I mean, the first time that they met, she runs him over with her yellow Vespa scooter, and then she hits him with a guitar. This kind of, again, this is like, yeah, El Kabong.
That was my joke. Fear the wrath of El Kabong!
Right. I was, yeah, exactly.
Sorry for interrupting.
No, you're fine. Trust me, everybody's gonna say that joke. I bet the comments even say that joke. And so,
as her guitar gently weeps.
Yep, pretty much. So every single episode, Naota always has this bump on his head or something going on that he has to wrap up a band-aid or wear a hat, and then something like really weird comes out, like a whole bunch of robots and creatures. And the first one that does come out is Canty, the blue robot that's basically coming around as like a servant, but he just has this really unique charm to him that is very lovable. Although the only one that is kind of creepy, in my opinion, is when it's like, I think it was in the second episode, in which when Naota has another creature coming out of his forehead, and then he accidentally flies over to Chanty, and then his stomach just eats him, and he turns into like this red robot with a crotch cannon and just shoots him out. And the only way to get Naota out is if like literally Canty shits him out.
Technically, Naoto is the projectile fired when he goes into the rifle mode.
Exactly, it's just weird. It's really weird.
The transformations in this series, though, like, they're all always, like, really different and really awesome. Like, there's the initial transformation where he's, like, he basically transformed into a giant robot hybrid. It's kind of like in Digimon Tamers, almost. But then there's when they turn, like, giant and when they, like, turn into a cannon mode. It's all very weird, but reminiscent of other, like, giant mech shows. And, or super robot shows, even in some cases. And I think it's great how they mix the art styles together.
Yeah, that's actually all lampshaded in the first manga segment. You think this is all Gundam?
Or as Haru would say, release the Gundam.
Right. So, yeah, basically, if you're thinking about, if I would just watch the next episode, it would explain it better. Pretty much no.
Not really.
You poor pitiful fool.
Yeah, continuity. What's that? But no,
Very
seriously,
good.
every single episode is just a crapshoot. You never know what you're going to get. You have one episode in which, you know, they all play baseball and then you get introduced to that eyebrows guy. Then you have one episode in which, you know, the daughter of the mayor wants to have Naota in a play of Puss in Boots. And he doesn't want to, even though he does actually have cat ears. And she's actually kind of a little bit creepy in a sense. And then it's just, I mean, when you, like, look into it, it's like everything just changes. You have the, you know, all the characters are, like, getting really close to each other, almost to the point of being uncomfortable. Like, when, after Haruko finished playing baseball, and she says, oh, I can't use my arms, and there's no electricity, so Naota's father rubs his chin all over her and then feeds her breakfast with his mouth. It's, oh my god, that really just got me questioning on anything logic happening, so...
Yeah, that one makes more sense when you learn that the dad in that scene was actually a robot Haruko had replaced him with, like, at the beginning of the series.
Right.
Yeah, like, a lot of it, like, is explained in the final episode for the most part, but you need to get there.
Yes, you must have enough patience and perseverance to get there. And yeah, basically, one of the things that I actually do find really interesting is that the main corporation, Medical Mechanica, is basically like this monopolized company, and you know, basically they just took over this really small town that pretty much that nothing happens. Everything is the same over and over again, and because people are just so content with their lives, they just don't notice anything that's happening until like all these fires and explosions happen. And then, you know, there's like this whole there's this whole scene in the episode about like some sort of like controversy, and it actually definitely reminds me a little bit of Alex Mack, in which this small town of California, the main one that a lot of people get their work from is the power plant, and the power plant is releasing a chemical that's supposed to be sold as a weight loss drug, but it really isn't. It's very you know, it's very unbalanced, and it's never been tested properly. So it kind of gives me a little bit of a sense of like they're trying to teach like a little bit of a moral about like, you know, like all these companies, is like anything that can happen under your nose, you have to be kind of like wearful about it. But then again, it's also giving this kind of like strange message about like how people just seem to accept anything and they don't really seem to question it unless something really massive happens.
The goal of Medical Mechanica is ultimately the destruction of all thoughts. Thus, moving into a town where nothing really happens, there are already people who are sedate in everything. Thus, no one really notices that they're becoming more like, what's the best way to phrase this?
They're ironing out the wrinkles.
Ironing out the wrinkles of thought. Yes. So basically, the zaniness of all the adults, why they become so unreliable, is in part caused by that effect, by the steam released by the iron-shaped building affecting them.
Right. And you don't really notice this the first time. You notice it at least like towards the end of the series, in which that's when their plans started coming into fruition.
The horrible truth behind Walmart.
There's actually a lot of stuff like that you can pay, like if you watch the series and pay attention to the stuff behind the scenes, like that aren't like shoved in your face. There's a lot of foreshadowing at what happens in the final episode. I recently watched it with my friend, and while it is still very weird, there's a lot of stuff that is foreshadowed, especially these giant irons in the steam. Like, in the background of a lot of shots, there's this giant iron-shaped building in a lot of these shots that you think, oh, it's just weirdness for weirdness' sake, but it actually leads to something.
Yeah. It definitely explains a lot more towards the last episode, in which you find out what the smoke is doing.
And I to be fair, I do think this is one of the easier shows to get through, since it's only 6 episodes. Like, granted, like I've seen shows that like go on for maybe 25 or 50 episodes that make absolutely no sense, But this, like, much like Afro Samurai, it's very short, it's condensed, and it tells a story that is very specific. And while it doesn't reveal a lot of the answers until the end, it's a pretty satisfying ending, and we have, like, some pretty damn awesome stuff. Like, we have a giant guitar flying riding woman in a Playboy bunny outfit, which is one of the most iconic images in anime.
Gynaxing.
Yes.
Yes, gynaxing. But no, you're right, absolutely. I mean, even everything about it has become iconic in more recent anime, like the motorcycle and the guitar and the robot.
Technically, those predated those things, but it felt like it was going for a revival of retro.
I can see that.
Recently, with the announcement of the new series, I don't know which news site it was, but they posted an article saying one of the world's most bizarre anime gets a new season. And of course, all the anime snobs in the comments were like, have you seen Dead Leaves or something like that? Well, and admittedly, yes, maybe there are other anime out there that are weirder. But listening to someone describe an episode of Fooly Cooly from an outsider's perspective is still like listening to the ramblings of the insane homeless.
Like, also the thing to keep in mind is that Fooly Cooly is, like, more well known than Dead Leaves.
I've never seen Dead Leaves, so I can't really make that kind of assumption. But, I mean, if it's just weird for weirdness' sake, I mean, at least with Fooly Cooly, yes, it is really weird. Like, there are a lot of different styles of animation. There's, like, plot points that pretty much at first don't go anywhere. There's absolutely nothing to do with it. The characters are so bizarre. But at least it's actually trying to tell a story. I've seen anime
it's just that it's from a kid's perspective, so the bigger picture isn't very clear.
Right.
Which makes sense. Like, if you take this without like realizing that it's setting up for something, it feels a lot like, you know, something like Puni Puni Poemi, where there's no logic, because fuck your logic. Nothing makes any sense. Here,
it makes sense if you've seen El Cell Saga, since it's a sequel to El Cell Saga, but El Cell Saga also doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and it's just like this, like, the best way I can describe Fooly Cooly, it's a kid viewing the world from his perspective and how nothing makes sense. Even, like, later in life, nothing makes sense, and you're just trying to get through it. That's life.
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy, and it's out there, but things happen.
Yeah, I would imagine this would be like if Pete and Pete was made into a Japanese anime and you just basically threw the rule book off the window. So, I think that another thing that I really love about this show, I love the soundtrack.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Soundtrack.
The soundtrack is phenomenal. It is like I mean, I just watched it again more recently, and the music just fits so well. It's one of my favorite soundtracks I've ever listened to. I mean, not only is it good for what, you know, is going on in the show, but it's also great standalone.
Interestingly enough, this is one of the only anime that I know that doesn't have an opening theme song. All it has is an ending theme by The Pillows, which is fantastic, and I think all the music in the show is done by The Pillows, but it's all fantastic stuff. It's really haunting, melodious stuff that really harkens to the melancholy of the main character. Like, wonderful pieces, and it's stuff that I could listen to over and over again. It's something that's like really stand out about this. I showed this to my friend Kat, and she had trouble figuring out what was going on, even as I was trying to kind of explain, because of the weirdness. Like, she's more about logic and order, so she probably won't like a show like this. But even she was just like, the soundtrack is phenomenal.
Yeah. And you know what, to be fair, I want to give context to some of my listeners, because I know a lot of my listeners do not like to listen to any podcast involving with anime. It's very mixed. But I just want to let you guys know that unlike most of the podcasts about anime that I have talked about, this one is going to be very split down the middle for some people. There's going to be a lot of people who may like it, and there's going to be a lot of people who may hate it. So I would suggest you do watch the first episode, and if you can get into it, then go to episode 2. But if you can't, then this is probably not for you. Yeah, but if you are to take anything away from this, then yeah, definitely check out the soundtrack.
There's some anime when, unless the opening theme is really good, sometimes if you're marathoning a show or something like that, you're inclined to skip the opening theme. But for me, I mean, how many times do you stay and listen to the ending theme of an anime?
Very rarely. Yeah, because the opening theme is what gets you going. The soundtrack is what gets you going. The ending theme is just like a bookend. You don't really pay attention to it.
It's gotten to the point a lot of animation companies are considering just doing away with it entirely. Toei, for example, has more and more with their programs, both animated and live action, just made a longer extended opening sequence that gets all the credits in.
Yeah, I've been seeing that a lot lately.
It really is a shame, though, because I've seen some really fantastic ending themes. Like, a perfect ending theme example would be Gurren Lagann with Mina no Peace. It's an ending theme that really gets you pumped for the next episode, and that's what an ending theme should do. It shouldn't overshadow the opening theme, but it should really lead into the next episode, and I think that's what the ending theme does in this case in Fooly Cooly, because it's an ending theme that you can listen to and it relaxes you, but it makes you want to watch more because like it really captures the feeling of the show by being both melancholy and energetic at the same time. And the visuals are unique. It reminds me a little bit of GTO with its opening, but GTO did a bunch of different styles, whereas this is all just snapshots from the live action, which is really interesting.
Yeah, it is very interesting.
I think that's one of the reasons why people stick around for the ending theme, too. It's energetic and zany, whereas most anime end themes are just sedate.
Yeah, they're very quiet, and they're very calming.
And then you get something like Cyborg 009, which you could hold a rave to.
Yeah. Then again, that's Ishimori adaptations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that for the most part, one of the things that I was really curious about when watching the anime again was that, even though you might think that it just goes like really all over the place, but I think that the last episode where everything comes together and you have this huge, gigantic fight, and then you have Haruko leaving Earth and just... basically you have Naoto just looking up and thinking about like his regular life, and it's actually a really satisfying ending, and I just think that with everything that's been going on and just everything leading up to it, and the ending just is like complete. I think that for something as weird as that is, I think it's like a very tight-knit thing that, trust me when I say this, that I've been watching anime lately that has very mediocre endings, and just the fact that they knew how to start it and how to stop it, it's actually pretty commendable, because it could have easily dragged on for a long time.
And for those who didn't like Naoto being left behind despite confessing that he loves Haruko, in the manga, Haruko leaves her bike behind and Naoto then chases after her, like she was chasing a Thomas.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I was actually quite surprised when listening in about, I think it was like last month was when I heard the announcement that they were going to be airing season 2 on Toonami, and I was like, what? There's a season 2? And it was like, Fooly Cooly Progressive, and then as of a few months ago, Fooly Cooly Alternative had just started. And I was just quite surprised. It's like, what made them decide that they were going to start, continuing the story after almost 20 years later?
Toonami commissioned it.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, the thing with Cartoon Network right now is Adult Swim and Toonami are earning Cartoon Network more ratings than their daytime programming.
Well, maybe if they stop airing reruns of Teen Titans Go, I think that maybe they can actually see some viewership.
It's severely that bad right now, and people defending modern Cartoon Network's decisions. Well, Adult Swim is actually an independent company. Technically, it's a different arm of Cartoon Network. Thus, main Cartoon Network doesn't have quite control. So they're earning more. They're getting more control back.
Not to mention, like, Toonami has been getting higher and higher ratings. I've been paying attention, and like, they've been bringing some really big things to the table. I think My Hero Academia was a big
that's been massive. I can assure you that was a great decision.
That was our a license to print money.
Imagine Dragon Ball Super finally got to the good stuff.
Yeah, Dragon Ball Super helped. But the thing is, they brought a lot to the table in recent years. When they brought Toonami back, I could care less for Dead Man Wonderland or whatever. I'll watch it eventually, but now that they're actually bringing some really interesting things that are really big and popular. Attack on Titan was big back in the day, but they keep bringing new things to the table that are really, really big. I hope that they diversify a little bit. I would love to see Magus Bride on Toonami, but with the ratings blowing up, they really wanted to bring back one of their flagship series, and this makes sense.
I want to see Food Wars on Toonami.
Yes, because season 3 is just the best thing in anime. I love My Hero Academia, but Food Wars season 3 is almost overtaking it.
Yeah,
please tell me they didn't put the tentacle rape scenes in the anime.
I haven't seen that part.
It's in one of the earliest chapters, so probably not then.
Oh yeah, they did put that in the anime, but that's the first episode. You could actually skip the first episode without missing anything.
Yeah. I definitely want to do a Food Wars podcast as soon as that the series is over, because I'm falling in love with it.
Yeah, Food Wars is great. But back to Fooly Cooly. Fooly Cooly they did that April Fool's thing where they pretty much they did something with it. They aired the Japanese episodes.
They aired the first episode of Fooly Cooly Alternative in Japanese with English subtitles.
Which was the April Fool's joke.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And that was a great idea, by the way. In fact, I'm actually going to post a picture that Des Shinta gave me on Skype for you guys to see. And if you guys get the reference, then you guys are going to laugh your asses off. It's great.
There are multiple levels to just that one moment, too.
So, I mean, similar to when they did the April Fool's Day prank of actually airing Toonami, and it pretty much just backfired with them saying, we want to have Toonami back. I guess this, with airing the Fooly Cooly Alternative as a joke, they were like, man, we got to get this back because it was such a huge success.
And that's the thing. I really think that a lot of Toonami's success has been in their production department, because Cartoon Network doesn't know what they're doing, but they keep being tricked into making good decisions for Toonami. So, I'm happy with the way Toonami's going. I don't really watch Toonami myself since I don't have the time. I'm usually streaming Saturday nights anyway. But, I really support Toonami. I support Funimation and Crunchyroll and a lot of the companies that put their anime through Toonami. And I think Toonami is doing us a great service, because when Toonami came back, we finally had a resurgence of better anime. It took a while, but there was kind of a lull for a while of anime that I really cared about, and now we're getting some really, really wonderful titles. I kind of want to see MMO Junkie on Toonami.
Yeah, me too. I've been hearing a lot about that.
It's an underrated show that it's 11 episodes, but it's something that you could show, and it's a fantastic love story. And it's wholesome enough that you could show it on Toonami. So I think it's definitely something that people would like.
Yeah. A few years ago, I did see A Lull in the Sea, and, the story is actually pretty interesting, and some of the characters are a little bit hit and miss, but my god, that animation is gorgeous. The underwater scenes, I mean, if just looking at the scenes where they're underwater with the city, and with the lights coming in, and just everything glowing, it is so gorgeous. It's one of the most beautiful anime I've seen in years. But yeah, I do agree that, anime in recent years has just exploded into a mainstream that we haven't seen in a long time. And, not only that, but, with the advent of more stuff being available on various sites like Crunchyroll or Viz Media's website or Funimation, airing the stuff on Toonami. Anime has, never been this mainstream. I mean, there's even various anime movies that are being released in theaters. I've already talked about Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Side of Dimensions before, and as of as of tomorrow, they're going to be showing Sailor Moon S and Super S in theaters. That is, I mean, if you were to tell me that would have happened like years ago, I would have said you were crazy.
Now, if only so much of the localization would be fixed in quality control. The creative liberties in a lot of recent dub stuff have been getting 4K's levels bad.
I see. I guess it depends on, who's behind the directing, but...
As someone who is kind of involved a little bit with this sort of thing, like, a lot of it really depends on the writers, the translators, and the directors. And some of them have different styles. Like, I know, like, some of them take more liberties, and I do give J. Michael Tatum a lot of crap for that. But, like, some of them... try to stay strictly to the original sub, and that's not always a good thing.
As long as they're maintaining the intent, I'm usually pretty forgiving. But it's like when you start putting in dialogue that calls people a slut, and it's said by a little girl, and that was nothing like their original dialogue, then that's where I have legitimate cause to complain.
Right.
I don't know what that's from.
Kobayashi's Dragon Maid.
Okay. I know
I've been
people
hearing
take
a lot
issue
about
with
that,
Kobayashi,
actually.
but like as someone who has interacted with these voice actors quite a bit from Dub Talk and talked to some of these directors, their decisions aren't always easy, especially because like I gave Cardcaptor Sakura Clear Card a lot of shit for their dub, but talking to the director for quite a bit, she said that they went with something. It was a very hard casting choice, and they went with something that they thought would be better from their standpoint. And it's not always an easy call because you're probably going to get shit no matter what you do. But it's really hard to get everything to be top tier talent when a lot of this is simuldubs, and that means that they don't know exactly what's going to happen until later down the road. Like they can't prepare for certain things. And while I do agree that certain line choices don't always work, sometimes you do what you think is best at the time, and then you change it for the home release.
Yeah, a lot of that is forgivable, but like if there's a line which could have been fine in a dub with little to no alteration, and yet they completely ignore that, it reflects badly on the characters and the series as a whole.
Yeah, but this is a bit of
that.
a lose-lose situation. You have on the one hand, you have people who are so dedicated to the Japanese that if the English doesn't follow it verbatim, they're going to complain. But then on the other hand, you have the English, people who like only listen to the dub and don't understand the Japanese. And then when if it's like really like. If they go like really out of the blue and just say various things that either like is strictly Japanese or like very insulting, then they'll get upset about it too. So it's like walking on eggshells.
Not to mention you have to match lip flaps.
Yes.
Like one of the biggest godsends was Assassination Classroom because Koro didn't have lip flaps, so he could say whatever the hell he wanted. And
yeah, that's also a thing. Like, I am understanding of a lot of those things. Like I said, I just don't like them going so far off script that they're saying something completely different. If they're maintaining the intent with different words, I'm totally fine with that. I actually prefer dubs which do that, as they are understanding enough of the material of what it means to do proper dubbing.
Yeah, but then on the other hand, you have various dubs that, if it's trying to stick to, like, Japanese references, the American public is not going to get it. So they throw in a whole bunch of American, products or celebrities that kind of fit in, which, going back to Fooly Cooly again, if you remember, that's what we were talking about.
I was about to segue exactly into that. They had to change a discontinued a Japanese drink, which no one would have gotten, into Crystal Pepsi. That's an understandable localization choice.
Yeah, and also in one of the episodes in which when Naota's father was handing out magazines, apparently, the teacher, when he was taken away, he was like looking at it and said, how dare you look at this picture of Anna Nicole? It's like, nobody's gonna get that today. I mean, if they had like a Japanese model or something like that, it's like nobody would even know who that is. So putting Anna Nicole Smith, A-okay.
Yeah. In fact, sometimes you definitely do need to change phrasing and localization to be able to convey a concept. And then Fooly Cooly is another good example of this, as much of the stuff around mechanical mechanica is about the breakdown of thought, and the Japanese words for that wouldn't properly translate to a good understanding. The English localization changes for properly conveying that idea are, again, an understandable change in diversion.
Right. Now, we're not going into the phrase of, oh, everything should be, like, Americanized so we can understand it, because, trust me, 4Kids did it in a way in which rice balls were jelly-filled donuts. We're not talking about that. We're talking
Don't even get me started on Prana from Dark Side of Dimensions.
Oh, no, please do not talk to me about the power of the Plana. Oh, God. Now I'm just finally getting that.
Prana is an energy form, not a person.
Right. Now I fully understand. I just want to kick myself. Anyway, but...
Although, I do approve of Haruko mentioning Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Wasn't if memory serves, that wasn't a localization change.
No, it's not. It was in the sub version, too.
But no, that's still pretty cool, though. So going back into it, I think that the way that they were able to do it is that you have to make it easily digestible for people to understand, but at the same time, you want to keep the culture and where it's from. I mean, you know, the fact that they were able to keep into the dub that, oh, my brother, Naota's brother is in America and he's playing baseball. So yeah, that's actually... it's actually good that they actually made it out that, yes, the whole thing takes place in Japan, as opposed to, like, everything's America because it's amazing.
We were joking about this. It had one of, like, a 90s company, they would have said it America and yet said the brother went to Sweden or something. That wouldn't have made sense.
Oh, man.
Yes, because I'm a huge fan of their Swedish baseball players.
The baseball thing is a bridging thing between Japan and America, that it makes sense that his brother went off to America to play baseball.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like how the Ace Attorney series is inexplicably set in L.A. despite clearly taking place in Japan in the originals.
Japanifornia.
Japanifornia!
San Francisco.
Oh my god. But yeah. Yeah, is there anything else to talk about this series? I mean, like I said before, this is a show that is not going to gel with everybody. You have to go into it with a very, very, very open mind and a lot of patience in order for you to understand what this show is even about. But if you are really interested in checking it out, then I would suggest stick with it. The ending will be worth it.
Now, I've got a joke in here. Haruka's goal at the end of this series is ultimately to free the being Atomisk, who is a super powerful space pirate, through use of Naota as a conduit with which to free him from his containment. And Naota in English is voiced by Barbara Goodson. So episode 6 comes around, and I'm instantly going, after 10,000 years I'm free! It's time to conquer Earth!
Love it. And not to mention that this was actually one of the very first times I was introduced to Kari Walgren. Yeah, because she was the voice of Haruko.
She steals the show.
Oh, yeah. She absolutely.
Some of the voice acting is a little bit awkward, but definitely Haruko is like pretty brilliant.
Well, it was her first role as a voice actor. It's understandable in that respect.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I think overall this is a show that some people might not like, but it's one of those classics that I think everyone needs to see at least once because it's history. It defined a part of the 90s, and there's reference to it in everything. It's a lot like, Digimon and Pokemon and stuff that, like, not everyone's going to like it, and it has a very specific mindset that you need to go into it. But it defined a generation, and I think people need to see it at least once in their lives to see what everyone's talking about.
Oh.
Also, phallic symbols.
Yes.
Phallic symbols everywhere.
Oh,
Not so much
love the
phallic
phallic
symbols, but intimacy
And
symbols.
lots of cat girls.
Yes. Lots of cat girls, robots, suggestive themes,
Giant beam cannons.
baseballs.
Piercing through the heaven with your drills. Wait.
Yes.
Same
all of that and many, many more. What are your thoughts on this, Eli?
Like you said, FLCL is an anime that if you want to learn where my generation of anime fans got their start, then it's definitely an anime that you should see. It's not I'm not going to guarantee that you'll love it. You might not even comprehend it at first, but someday, maybe years from now, you'll come back to it and you'll get it all of a sudden.
How about you, Ryan?
Well, I think like the thing with Fooly Cooly is that it's definitely not going to be gel for everyone, but it's definitely an iconic show that everyone should check out.
I do agree as well. And but if you don't take anything away from that show, then still I implore everybody to listen to that soundtrack.
Yeah, everyone should.
All right, I think that we can wrap things up. So, guys, once again, thank you so much for coming on by. I really do appreciate it.
Problem.
No problem.
Yeah. So, do you guys have anything to plug or self-promote right before we go?
No.
Okay, thank you. How about you, Des Shinta? What do you got?
First of all, this was the anniversary of the first time I've been a reviewer. Did reviewer stuff. It's my 7th year anniversary, and I'm going to be streaming all day tomorrow. You probably won't have this up on the 2nd, so never mind then. You can check me out at youtube.com/shittereviews. I do pretty regular reviews of tokusatsu, RPGs, and a bunch of other stuff.
All right. What do you got, Zenith?
I do a whole bunch of stuff. You can check out my streams at twitch.tv/Zenith Will Review. I usually stream every Saturday and Sunday, although I'm actually technically streaming right now because I'm streaming the premiere of the master cut of my Danganronpa retrospective, which is 4 videos put together. It's about 3 hours long, which is kind of crazy, but it works on stream. And you can check out my videos on youtube.com/Zenith Will Review, where I have reviews of video games, anime, and everything in between. I just put out a retrospective look back at Kingdom Hearts 1 and the aforementioned Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc.
All right. And Eli, what do you got?
Well, on the subject of anniversaries, this podcast was actually recorded on my birthday.
Oh, nice.
Happy birthday.
I'm 28 now, and I'm still reviewing cartoons on the internet.
Woohoo!
And you can find my work at youtube.com/theherooftomorrow and theherooftomorrow@blogspot.com. And right now I'm in the middle of working on a very big project, but before that you should be seeing a new review of the Dodgers TV series that's going to come out probably before this podcast comes out, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. By the time that this podcast is already, by the time that I release this podcast, the Naruto Shippuden podcast should be out, and I'm working on another video, which I haven't done a video in a while, but this is one that I've been working on for a while that I've wanted to put together. It's been it's a long overdue request of something, so go check that out when it's out. And also, I'm going to be having another guest coming in. This is one that I've been really excited to have over. We've been talking for the past couple of months. And so when that comes out, you will be able to check it out. Once again, by the time that this podcast is out, the 2nd season of Fooly Cooly should be out on Adult Swim, and the 3rd season should be coming out in September. So if you are interested in checking out the first season, then you can check it out on various locations, whether it be Hulu or on Funimation site or what have you. So yeah, I would highly recommend that you support the official release. And maybe sometime in the future we should do a follow-up podcast on progressive and alternative, because I know progressive is only 3 episodes long, and alternative, I don't know how many episodes it's going to be, but since they're relatively short, I think it would be a good time if we could just do them together.
I thought both seasons were slated for 6 episodes each.
Okay, then yeah, maybe we can just, if that's the case, then yeah, maybe when progressive is, has aired all 6 episodes, maybe we could do a follow-up.
Sounds fun.
Yeah. All right then. So thank you so much for listening, everybody. Let us know in the comments below if your earliest memories of Fooly Cooly. What did you think of it? Were you able to get past the first episode without going, what the hell? And if you are interested in Fooly Cooly, let us know about what your thoughts are of Fooly Cooly Progressive. if you're watching this on Toonami, or if you already saw this a while ago, Japanese with English subtitles. So that's it, everybody. Got a lot of stuff coming. Hope to see you around soon. Take care.